Ninth Army was leaving, so it was like people were like, "Oh, what do we do? What do we do?" And I remember sitting down with the commanders and being like, "Hey, like you only need 11 guys at each thing." Like, "Oh, how can you say 11 guys? You don't know what it looks like." I'm like, "It doesn't matter. Like the Iraqis are providing your security. Quit pretending that you are. You just need to be able to have one guy roaming at all times, one guy SOG, one guy SOG, one guy radio watch, and then S1 through S6. You know, like that's it." And that was awesome because the Marine Corps was forced to let go. Mm-hmm. They were forced to let go. They couldn't keep a platoon or a company at each side anymore. They had to just just let it rip. And so that was a benefit for the Marine Corps, whether they knew they were doing it good or not. And I remember the generals coming down and asking me, General Kelly, 1st MEF CG, asking me like, "How do I make this happen? You know, across the board. You know, can I go down to 4 guys? Can I do this? You know what I'm saying? When can I just drive? Can I drive to work every day?" Because a lot of them didn't like us living with the Iraqis. Like, you can't drive to work every day because you only control the base for half an hour, you know, for 12 hours. Like, that would make me uncomfortable. Like, leaving for 12 hours and then coming back, oh, you're kidding me. Like, the risk gain assessment there is crack baby like. But, you know, I mean, so, you know, my Colonel Turner again used to say there's 2 types of pits. There's the pit that lives with them, and then there's one that isn't a pit. You know? like either you do or you don't. Like either you're in or you're not. The one's not really a pit.
Right.
You know, one of them lives with them. That's a pit. They're there with them. And so that expansion helped us out and helped the rest of the Marine Corps out by having to just let go and let the Iraqis run things.
I'm sorry. What does the pit stand for anyway?
Excuse me. It's a police. A MIT is a military transition team, police transition team. Okay, and so, but we call them AUG teams. So augmentation team. Pit means team. Police. You know what I'm saying? And that's everybody else calls them pits. We call them augmentation teams.
So they're the same thing, just different.
They are the same. I call mine augmentation teams because they didn't just deal with the police.
But to be a pit team, you had to be there 24 hours in your eyes.
Well, I mean, other people would drive to work and just help out the police. And like the reason ours were augmentation teams and not pit teams is we dealt with every aspect of the government. I mean, we dealt with everything. We didn't just deal with the police. I dealt with the government. I dealt with the sanitation. I dealt with the water. I dealt with the trash. I dealt with everything to do with that AO. That's what you dealt with. The other thing that we did, you know, that I did was unique. Maybe not unique to us, but helped us out a lot, is each augmentation team really was not self-sufficient. It was self-sufficient to stay inside of its base, but it needed somebody to take it around. It needed a squad to escort it from location to location whenever it wanted to leave. I did that on purpose. I wanted the augmentation team to have to stay focused inboard. Okay? And I wanted them to have to pull somebody from the outside to be their security. And I wanted those guys to be my Secret Service agents. I didn't want somebody so bought in on the whole system to be blind to what was going on. I wanted somebody who was semi-suspicious, like coming in a security mindset like that. So what happened is you had your ops squads, is what they were called. An ops squad had 2 roles in life. They patrolled their AO or they defended the main base. And that was a 2-week cycle for them. Then what I did is, when I was telling you, like, I constantly reorganized, I constantly task organized again and again and again. I eventually task organized where each ops squad had an AO. So either you were on base watching or you were patrolling your AO. And where I knew that this was working is one day I'm out on a patrol and the ops squad leader, Corporal Howe, is walking down the street, and all of a sudden he's up front and I'm talking to the Iraqi commander, you know, and he's kind of got a bubble around us. And so I'm like, I see Sergeant Howe, or Corporal Howe, like, you know, like pointing like this. And I'm like, what is going on? So I walk up there and I'm like, Howe, what is going on? He's like, Ahmed's not here. I'm like, Ahmed? He's like, Ahmed, little kid. He's my buddy. He meets me on this corner every single time I'm on patrol. He's not here. I want him. There's this little girl running down the street towards him. And, he's like, Olga, Ru Ahmed Tal, you know. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know, and he told the girl, stop. Go, Ahmed, come. This is what he told her. It was the literal translation.
And what was the date on this?
I couldn't even tell you. Like, this is one of those many patrols, but it was halfway through the deployment. And so, little Ahmed comes out with the girl, the girl towing Ahmed out. He sees Corporal Howie, he starts running towards him. They do the hug, and then the patrol drives on. And I was like, it's working. It's working. My guys know every street, every corner, every individual, and they're my security guards. They're not totally bought in on the system. They're not blind. They're still suspicious when they step out with the police. And that was the ops unit.
Okay.
So that was the way that rolled. Anything else?
Say again, you task organized them so you had a certain level of healthy tension.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was a matter of just keeping them fresh. And would I have broken that down more? And I think the next unit did. It wasn't totally necessary. I liked it. You could have plussed up the augmentation team with 3 more to 4 more individuals, and they could have been self-sustaining. Yeah. And there might have been a reason to go do that. It also helped me control the ops cycle a little bit, and have at least some situational awareness of what the hell was going on. Which at times, it was so decentralized. I could have up to 8 moving squads out there, and sometimes I didn't know it because I was in the middle of a meeting or something like that.
Is there anything else you want to cover on the expanding the AO topic?
The expanding the AO, one of the things, and this happened before we expanded the AO, but it was important, is, like I told you about how I destroyed my rifle company. I had to create an operations officer. And it was one of my lieutenants who was sharp and crisp and clear who controlled, the operations of the company. And they acted like a battalion. You as a augmentation team would call up, and you had to submit 1 week out when you needed an ops unit to come to you. You could request it within an hour, and he would ship them to you. But this way, he made the ops schedule. He made sure all the runs, anytime anybody stepped out of the base, he knew about it. Anytime stepped out anywhere base, he knew about it. He was tracking it. He was making sure it was all coordinated, deconflicted, going on at the right place, making sure MOS monitorings happen. He was kind of the enforcer, the guy who made all those things happen. And he was like a battalion operations officer.
And he was?
Lieutenant Bradley.
Okay.
Absolute animal. The motivated will be the commandant of the Marine Corps someday, inshallah. You really, with this organization, I would say if you weren't reorganizing every week, you were starting to get behind.
And this is a good topic to conclude on, but what are the other major elements, and we covered some in the last couple of hours, of how I destroyed my rifle company in terms of table of organization, billet, Marine Rifle Company, 4 platoons, 3 squads in each platoon, to how you destroyed a rifle company. And
the Marine Corps teaches you to do this as an officer, but then they pound you about the head, neck, breast, and chest area every time you do it. Think about it. We're a task organizable unit. We're MAGTF. You're supposed to, when you do the MET-T and you look at troops and fire support, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to, at that point, you have analyzed your mission, you have looked at the enemy. Now you are supposed to go back and assign each asset to defeat that enemy to accomplish your mission. So what I did, and again it's in that presentation, is I broke everything down by my logical lines of operations. Okay, or lines of operations, some people call them. So once I did that, everything started fitting into place. So I had the security line of operation. With the security line of operation, I needed somebody to control all of the police stations in the AO. How many of those do I have? I have 3 of them. I need 3 augmentation teams. What do I need in each augmentation team? Well, they're going to be self-sustaining, so they need to have an S1 through 6 shop of their own. Okay, they need to have their own security, so I need to make sure there's enough bodies at least to do their own security. Okay, wait a minute. Now that I've got all these different bases, though, and this was the other thing that helped me, is I went through the Marine Corps warfighting functions. After I went through that, but I'll go through that real quick. So for security, I needed, since there were so many people moving, I had to have somebody controlling all that movement, so I needed an operations officer. Hey, wait a minute, who's providing security for all of this? Who's looking at this whole damn thing as a big picture? All right, I need a fixed site security officer. Wait a minute, how am I collecting and disseminating all this data? I need an S2 guy that collects and disseminates data. Then look at the CMO line, because I knew governance was going to be an issue. So along governance, who do I need? Well, I need let's go back to the essential services, economic dev line, and that was CMO is what I actually called it. So I needed things in